Hello, world, and welcome to another voice note from France, a podcast where I look beyond the Instagram highlight reel to find out what it's really like to start a new life in another country. On today's voice note, I'll be taking you. Well, I actually don't know where I'll be taking you. Today's guest started by moving from Guyana to the UK and is now location independent. My cousin, Hewley Jr., who I'll be calling Junior from now on, moved to England to pursue a career as an athlete. Over time, he transitioned from a player to a coach, a decision which saw him pivot to entrepreneurship and never look back. If you want to hear more about his story and the advice he has for any expats looking to start a business from nothing in a new place, keep listening. And maybe listen to the end, because he drops a little extra gem in there for those who stick around. Okay, so Junior, obviously we were talking off mic, many interesting things that the people will just have to guess what we were saying. But you were saying so many things. And you were talking about your law degree, and I think you and I need to start comparing our law degrees and where our law degrees have gotten us.
You know what the interesting thing is I don't have a law degree, and that's good because my dad, he has 4 degrees, and he, growing up, he obviously one of which is a law degree. He's still a practicing lawyer, but growing up, he used to always throw it in our faces, like even before we became of age to go to university, we were in primary and secondary school, and my dad's like, I got 4 degrees. What you got? I was like, well, I never got to university yet. What are you talking about?
I just learned to draw a triangle.
Yeah, exactly. It's something he always used to flex on us. Like, look, I got 4 degrees, and then sometimes he would just take it out of the, that the little thing like a scroll. He'd take it out and he just dust it off and be like, right, I need to hide this before one of y'all thief it and try to change it name.
So you already have his name, so easy enough.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. And he would look at me and be like, right, you is the most dangerous one because we got the same name, and I don't want you thieving my degree and then going and try and use it pretending to be me. So it used to be something that you can flex back in the day. It used to be something that you can be proud of. I'm not saying that you can't be proud of your accomplishments, with your degree or degrees. But I think today we live in an entirely different world where we're realizing that now the degrees that people used to work for 4 or 5 years for in most fields is not applicable to anything in life today. Back then, when it probably maybe 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago and beyond, having a degree is something that would automatically put you in that upper tier because it means that a degree shows competence, right? Because one thing you realize is that the thing that you study for, and I'm sure you know a lot of people like this. I certainly do. A lot of people, like 90% of people that I know that have degrees, don't work in the degree that they study for. Whatever
Absolutely
field
not.
that they got
And
a
I'm
degree
one of
in.
them.
Yeah, they're not employed in that field. And you're one of them. There you go. So you can testify to that. 90% of the people that I know are not in a job that has anything to do with their degree. But what it does is that a degree is not just for what you study. It shows competence at that level.
And that you're trainable.
Exactly. And it's always been that way. So back in those days, certain when jobs were jobs, where we would, we'd be hired for a particular position or role, and a degree was a requirement, then fine. But I think today we live in an entirely different world where degrees, it's not that degrees aren't needed or necessary, but degrees aren't as useful as they used to be because the world is an entirely different place. Why would anyone spend 5 years of studying for a particular degree in a particular field, let's say a communications degree or a marketing degree or something of the sort, and or a degree in journalism or whatever, and the specific field that degree belongs to or applies to, when you finish studying and you're in probably 100,000 or I don't know how much it is in student loan debt, then you find that at the peak of your earning potential, you're probably working for, let's say in British pounds. I can relate to pounds because I live in England, but let's say in pounds, your peak earning potential is about 50 grand a year, 60 grand a year. Like if you're earning for, and the thing is, and mind you, the average wage in London is, I think it's about between 25, 30, like I said, 30 grand a year. With a degree, if you're doing journalism, I think at the peak of your earning potential, you're probably working for like what, 40, 46 grand a year, something like that. I'm not sure. I need to double check it. But if you invest all this time and all this money into a degree that supposed to put you on a different level, and at the peak of your earning potential, you're earning less than what in today's world some little social media content creator or influencer could be earning in a week or two. And that makes no sense. And this is what you're earning per year. So if you're earning 50 grand a year or 40 grand a year, and that's what you studied 5 years for and paid hundreds of thousands of dollars pounds for, how's that compared? How is it, you got a little 18 or 19-year-old.
You might as well just
internet.
start a YouTube channel. Yeah.
Yeah, you're talking trash on the internet, and that's the thing. I've got nothing against influencers, but and content creators, because some of them are genuinely putting good stuff out there. But majority of them, it's a circus out there. So you just make yourself a fool and put stuff on the internet. You go viral, and
just put your red nose on and just be a clown.
Yeah, and in a 50 grand a month you easily bringing in. It's ridiculous. It doesn't make any sense, and there's no skill required. There's nothing required. There's no studying required, no education required.
Nothing that you have to go to university for. You can literally learn
nothing
this
of value.
Google is your teacher.
Exactly. So nothing of value. So that's why I'm saying we live in an entirely different world now, where people don't need those skills that they need before in order to make good money or a lot of money. And the skills that we needed back then, and the degrees and all that stuff that we needed that actually required work, those jobs are paid very little.
Yeah, exactly.
So the opposite of what it used to be. So why are we still doing the same thing when the result is actually the opposite of what it used to be? Most of the big ideas and the big concepts and big companies and successful products and all these things, all of the successes that you see in the world today, these things most of the big ideas and big projects and everything, they all started as small ideas in a small place.
And they probably didn't start in a classroom.
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. I'm yet to hear of a major idea or service or business that started in a classroom. It all started from a tiny dorm room, a dorm room or a small bedroom or a kitchen table or whatever. Like they all had humble beginnings, and that's where you need to start, because you have to start from where you are. And usually where you are when you have these ideas is in a place where you're not much, or you're not exposed to much.
And you don't have a whole lot of resources.
You don't have any resources. You have to, and I think that's the best thing, because you then have to figure out how to get what you don't have to develop what you've now found. So you found a good idea, or what you think is a good idea, but you have zero resources. So now you've got to figure out, how do I get the resources or get the backends to support this idea, to actually make it into something, to bring it to life. And I think that's the fun in the journey. That's the beauty part. That's the part you enjoy the most, when you have to turn that idea into what it can be.
Well, Junior, now the people want to know. Now I have to ask you, what was your humble beginning? What was your dream, and how have you been able to manifest it into this big thing where you are now? As I said, I would tell the people, location independent, successful entrepreneur. Am I missing anything? Table tennis champion. Tell us, what was your humble beginning? What was your humble idea? And tell us the rest. How did it go?
Well, yeah, obviously I came from humble beginnings. I think it's.
Let's forget the part where your father was a lawyer.
Yeah, no, yeah, no, it is humble beginnings, because we where we grew up. I mean, it's not like my dad was a massive corporate lawyer to some of the high-profile cases. Well, now he is, but his success is his success. His success has nothing to do with me.
Yeah.
I think I was always in search of my own success, of my own path, and that's precisely why I didn't uh, become a lawyer, because the pressure being on me to become a lawyer and to do law and everything, I ignored that in search of my own path. So I think for me, just to sort of summarize it, I grew up as an athlete. I played table tennis internationally and professionally. Moved out to England for the first time to come and play in a professional league in Europe, and to be exposed to. I mean, that's with any sport you play, pretty much, Europe is the place you'd want to be, because that's where most of the opportunities, league wise and everything is. Um, so I moved out here to come and play professionally, loved it, and saw a path for my success in sport. That's the main thing I saw out here in Europe, a path a path to my success in sport. So it's very difficult to see a pathway in sport or anything when you're in a place where you're deprived of opportunity, you know? So, so yeah, fast forward, I think, now I never had I wouldn't say I had a eureka moment. I never had a eureka moment where it's like, oh, I've got the next big idea. I think, yes, I've had many different jobs in the past, and even working out here in the UK, I when I stepped down from being uh, highly competitive in sport, I started coaching more. So I started competing less, coaching more, because at a certain time, life kind of changes. Your priorities change a bit. Um, and I was making good money coaching. I was working for a company, um, and I started. I think, oh yeah, I was made redundant by that company after, I think, 4 years, 4.5 years. I was made redundant, and I decided to freelance, just to do it on my own a bit.
Mm-hmm.
And after freelancing for a while, it was okay. It was okay. It wasn't a big eureka moment or anything. Fast forward a few years later, the same company wanted me to come back, because I'd done really good stuff for them. And I went back for a year, and then I did all right. But then I remembered the reason why I was okay with leaving in the first place. And then, yeah, and the same thing happened. I think this was the universe telling me that, listen, this is not where you're supposed to be. So the same thing happened. I was up for redundancy again.
Oh,
What
okay.
are the odds? Yeah, what are the odds? And then I was like, you know what? I'm not supposed to be here. So then I decided, okay, you know what? I had the idea to start my own, not to really start my own thing, but to just do freelancing, because I've got a lot more freedom, a lot more flexibility if I'm freelancing. I'm not tied down to a certain amount of hours. And freelancing, I usually make the same amount, or if not a bit more money, with far less of the time. So I was like, you know what? Let me follow what the universe is really saying to me, and just let me just step away from this. So I was up for redundancy, and I decided to just answer the call and say, look, let me start my own thing. So I started my own thing on the side. So I designed it around my current working hours, and yeah, fast forward, and then later on left that company, and then just decided to follow up on what I was going to be doing, because then it started getting tougher working for that company. And then I left. Let's say I left today on the Friday. That same day, I got a call at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. I think I was on a lunch break or a free period or something. So I was a head coach in a school working for this company, running a full-time program. I had a free period, got a call at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. This guy said, listen, we want you to come in. We want you to uh, run 2 sessions a week. You're the guy we want. We're ready to go. We haven't got any equipment, but can you get it all sorted for us? And as soon as we get it, we want you to start the very same week if you can. Like, okay.
And they wanted you. They didn't want
They
the
wanted
company. They
me.
wanted you.
No,
Okay.
well, there wasn't a company as yet. That's the thing. There wasn't a company yet.
Oh no, no,
I'd
and the
only
company you were working for.
Oh no, yeah, they wanted me.
Okay.
So at that time, there was one school that I was doing an hour a week, right? And it was all right. It was a private school. It was good, getting a bit of money on the side. And yeah, so this other school close by the same area, the man said, "Yeah, we want you. We'll pay you what you ask." Da, 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 da. I was like, "Okay, cool." So I said yes, not knowing what the hell was going to happen. And I said yes. And when I hung up the phone, I was like, "What did I just do? How am I going to actually do this? Because I can't technically do this during the time that they want me to do it. It's like during the day or something on Monday."
Yeah.
That was 1 o'clock. At 3:30, at 3:30 in the afternoon, I had a meeting with HR. And before the end of that conversation, I said to them, "I quit." So I said,
So during your lunch break, you were there typing you typing your little resignation letter.
I wasn't even typing it. I wasn't even typing it because what happened is I was actually in trouble for something else,
Oh,
right?
okay.
I was in trouble for something else.
This is your last
Some,
strike.
yeah, no, no, it wasn't even a last strike, but it just didn't make any sense. And the conversation with HR made no sense because I'm being accused of things that I know nothing about. I was like, well, what is happening here? That's a long story. I'll probably get into it later because it's
That's for the
really
outtakes.
funny. Yeah,
If I ever create
that
like a
yeah, that's
Patreon, let me create a
oh
Patreon
man,
so that people will pay money so you can hear what
so
he did.
funny. It is hilarious. And then so there I am a log, answering to a log of about 11 or 12 things that was actually on a log that I was being accused of that I know nothing of anyhow. We had a conversation and I can see where it was leading. I was like, well, and it just ended and I was like, I felt light at the end of it. I was like, you know what? And then the Monday, I proceeded to just, okay, you know what? My bills are paid. Um, I'm fine for now for the next month at least. I'm okay. I've got a bit of money put aside. I've got some money coming in from this school that I'm already doing. So now I've got one school that I'm doing once a week, 1 hour a week. And then I've got this guy that wants to start immediately. Okay. The next week, by the by the Thursday of the following week, I had 4 new contracts.
Oof.
4 new contracts by the Thursday of the following week. Not even a full week since I've left this job. By the Thursday of the following week, 4 new contracts. And I just went on it. And long story short, so within 2 months, so whatever I was earning per year with this company, within 2.5 months, I had tripled that. I tripled
Wow.
my yearly salary in 2.5 months. I just got aggressive straight away. And it's not a eureka moment. It's just, okay, this is what I know how to do. I know this very well, better than anyone. And I can do this. And all I need to do is rinse and repeat the same formula. So straight away, I typed up an email, read it twice, and I just started sending emails out to schools within the same area that I was already based, like with the first school. And people were extremely receptive to it. I put together a PowerPoint presentation and everything was done around that time on like Zoom and stuff because it was like COVID. So I put together a presentation and I started sending out emails and stuff. As soon as I get the responses, I started inviting them to like, can we have a 20-minute Zoom call? Da, da, da. And I would walk them through the presentation. The presentation was brilliant. And then they loved it. They loved what I had to offer.
There's so much more to hear about Junior's story and the secrets of his success, but we're gonna have to hear more after this ad break. All right, so Junior, you left me and the people with a lot of things. We're gonna come back to where you ended, but I wanted to say, so I had to write some of it down really. So the first thing is that like you said something really interesting, which is the fact that, you were talking about how you just weren't comfortable in the place where you were when you were working with this company. Like things just weren't working out. I guess the listeners, if you're religious, if you're not religious, if you believe it's God, if you believe it's the universe, this idea that ultimately, whichever higher power you believe in, if
Mm.
you're meant to do something or you're not meant to do something, I do feel like you will be made uncomfortable until you make that change. When you finally did do the thing that I think you were meant to do, that's when
Mm.
all of a sudden everything just started working out for you. Even your idea and the fact that, you had your idea and like you said, it wasn't this eureka moment. It wasn't, the most inventive, you didn't create anything new or inventive or anything like that. It's not like you were coming in trying to be like the absolute smartest guy in the room, but what you did was, you found a formula. You created a step-by-step plan that worked for you. And I want you to kind of talk more about that. We started to hear a little bit before the commercial break, but can you give us a bit more detail in terms of that?
Yeah, well, yeah, that's absolutely. I think where my sort of journey began is like I said, I didn't have a eureka moment. I was never looking to be the next greatest inventor or anything. I mean, I think we live in a time of innovation rather than invention. You can find something and build upon it. You can search and identify what skills you currently have and how you can hone those skills in, how you can monetize those skills. And these days, I would say it's easy. It's just easier to monetize things that are already in existence. So I think when it came to my situation, I just needed to understand, okay, what am I good at? What skills do I currently have? And how can I monetize it? I think I was made uncomfortable in the position I was already in, not by the people that I was working for or working with. I think I was uncomfortable because I wanted more. I knew I wanted more. I wanted to do more. I wanted to be more. So I was naturally uncomfortable. But then all the pieces just started to come together as in, okay, well, if I if I keep ignoring the fact that I'm uncomfortable because I want more, then it's gonna start showing that I'm uncomfortable because the environment around me is directing that discomfort towards me. So it's a slim line between blaming your environment or the people around you for your discomfort and acknowledging that that discomfort lies truly within you because you actually want more. So in hindsight, I think I was always uncomfortable with the idea of just living a normal life or just accepting what's given to me. I
Just being
always
a worker.
Yeah, and the thing is nothing wrong with being a worker, but I think it's just some people just want more. Some people just want a bigger purpose, a sense of purpose, or a higher purpose. Some people just are not meant to live the same lives as everyone else or the majority. And I think that was always my problem because I was always hungry for more. I was always in search of more. That's why I moved out to the UK. I wanted to be in a place where if I wanted more, I can have it. I wanted to be surrounded by abundance. So where it all began for me was acknowledging and understanding that it is something I wanted all along. That's primarily the reason why I moved to Europe. And when I was put in that situation, when everything led me to that bridge and I had to just cross it, yeah, obviously there's going to be an element of fear of the unknown, but I think it's all how you look at it. It wasn't so much fear, it was just, okay, well, I don't know what's over there, but now I have to find out. I'm excited to find out, but because of now my situation, I'm unemployed. I
Hmm.
have to find out.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Whether you like it or
It's
not,
either
you're
that
gonna
or
find out.
yeah, you're gonna find out. So you might as well make the journey as exciting as possible. You have no choice. So so yeah, I think I just sort of to answer your question, it's just it started really from there where I just started looking forward to the next thing. Like, okay, well, this is all new. Let's do this. Let's explore. And bit by bit, I started to sort of learn along the way because more and more people were interested in what I had to offer. I got a call from a local club, a local sports and sort of primarily a cricket club. They wanted to resuscitate table tennis in the club. They used to have it, but they didn't have it anymore. They said, oh, well, you're the guy. We heard you're the guy. I was like, who do you hear that from? Oh, you were recommended by this person. And I was like, okay, can we have a meeting? I was like, okay. So at this point, I had like three or four, no, about four schools that I was working with. This was a couple of weeks in, and I had a meeting with, I think, one of the head coordinators of the club, and he said, well, what we're looking to do is to resuscitate the sport here, have people actively playing because they play other sports like squash, tennis, cricket, etc. Um, Table tennis will complete the racket sports, so we don't have a table tennis coach.
Mm-hmm.
We had a guy, but he was really, really old, and I think he just plays a bit now. He doesn't really coach. I was like, okay, cool. I knew what I can do because I've done it before. I've done it for so many years, and I presented these are the results I have over these years, and they were quite impressed with it. So I was like, well, I know what I can do, so that's fine. And I said it to him. I said, give me. I said in about six weeks, I will have X amount of players playing. So I think the target was, he said, if we can have if we can have one active session a week and have about maybe 8 to 10 players playing, because it was a small club, we'd be happy. I said, okay, I can guarantee you that within that 8 week period.
Mm-hmm.
Long
That's
story
basically
short,
a player a week.
yeah. So I said, okay, long story short, I said, this is what we're gonna do. We put together a plan and this is how we're gonna do it. And he said, look, I won't get involved. You do your thing, and these are the targets. I was like, okay, cool. Long story short, the target was 10 players playing actively once a week after 8 weeks. What actually happened was we had 39 players playing in 3 weeks, and we had to create 4 sessions.
That's
I had to
insane.
create more sessions, add more days, add more time spaces, and we were operating like 3 or 4 days a week. So, sorry, 3 days a week from the same venue over multiple sessions. It's not very big. So I had to sort of create more sessions to accommodate the numbers. And it just started going from there. So we had club programs running now, we had school programs running, and we gradually started building. And what happened is we've never advertised one.
Really?
Everything just spread like wildfire via word of mouth.
Mm-hmm.
And I was always a firm believer, if you have a good service or a product, it sells itself. I've never had to advertise because all of the parents bring their kids to the clubs or, you know, and parents talk to other parents. That's the best form of marketing because parents are going to recommend and speak to other parents. And every week you got new people coming. So the parents keep spreading the word. I've never had to advertise because everything just grew organically via word of mouth. And it just spread like wildfire. And then the accountant that was working for the club, she was working for another prestigious members only club uh, in the same borough, but like 10 minutes away. She was doing their accounts as well. And her son was actually a part of the club. And she approached me one day. She's like, oh, I hope you don't mind, but I gave your details to this club because they were looking for someone to run or to start a program there. And she recommended me. She said, I hope you don't mind. I was like, yeah, that's absolutely fine. So I got a call, went there, spoke to them, and yeah, and then we just got started straight like a week after, and that became one of the biggest programs. They loved it. And she's like, well, the lady was like, this person, she spoke highly of you. She can give first-hand recommendation testimony because her son is, he's under your program, and we want you to come and run a program here. I was like, oh, okay. So it just started organically growing like that. And yeah, so we just continue to build the school programs, we continue to build the club programs, and here we are. I run the academy. I do some of the hands-on work now, but not a lot because there's a lot of back office stuff like admin work and stuff to do. That's what takes most of my time. But we've got loads of coaches that work for the academy. I just pretty much overlook most of the things, and I do a few one-to-one sessions, but that's as much as I do, like delivery wise.
Well, that's what was going to be my next question because you're going all around, from what it sounds like, all of England. You're going around England, all of the United Kingdom, and just starting all these programs. At what point did you say, okay, I clearly have got something. Let me go and essentially start my own business. Because basically, when you're starting all these programs, from what I understand, you're
Mhm.
basically a freelancer. So you're freelancer,
Yeah.
you're going on and doing that. At what point did you say, okay, I need to actually build something? I need to make that switch from freelancer to business owner.
Well, good question actually. What I did was when I first started, um, I had the one school and the second guy approached me, and then I was just basically doing the two, and then I started trying to get more business, more schools on board and so on. It was shortly after that when I started looking at when I got like 4 or 5 contracts. Then I started looking at, okay, what model do I want to adopt? And I thought about it. I was like, well, for like on a scale level, like to looking forward, okay, well, it has to be something scalable because it is highly scalable. And at some point, I'm going to become fully saturated. I'm going to need people to become,
Yeah,
to come on
you
board and
can't do
work with
this
me.
all.
Yeah, so I was thinking about doing it as a, sort of a freelancer or a sort of sole trader. But then it's like, well, it's not really a scalable model, is it? So I decided to, okay, you know what? Let me open my own academy. That way I can really, do certain things internally, really scale it, get coaches on board. And I thought about the model that I wanted to adopt. Okay, I'm gonna have school programs, but I'm also gonna have club programs. And the model I wanted to adopt is within a specific area, I'll have different schools, then I'll build a club around that to serve as more of a hub for the schools to feed into. So then I started
Mm.
looking at the model that I wanted to move forward with and scale on a bigger scale with. So that's when I decided, okay, let me open my academy. So when I designed my presentation and everything, I designed it around the basis that we're running an academy. Didn't actually have the academy
Yeah,
like the way it is now. That model was revised a few times and developed over time. You're
of
never going to
course.
have all the final product at the beginning, but as we started to grow, we've kind of fed into that. So yeah, and then with certain places like certain schools, they wanted to understand what your structure was because obviously, am I employing you? Am I employing you as a staff member, or am I employing you as a sole trader? Am I employing
Yeah, exactly. And
a
like, what rights does
business?
that entitle you
What is yeah,
to?
exactly. What is it? So that's when I started really paying attention to it because I need to be able to, okay, if you're employing me, then you're employing me. So I cannot send someone to replace me in that space.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
so then what I started putting forth to them is like, okay, you're employing a business. So whether it's me delivering those sessions or one of my other coaches or one of our other coaches, that's fine. You're employing the business, the company,
Yeah.
and we can send any coach to deliver those sessions. Now, at this point, it was just me.
Yeah.
It was just
You're
me. I was
you're
referring
you're the
to
person
we.
calling yourself a CEO and you're the only
Yeah,
employee.
yeah.
Yeah.
No, but that's the thing. I wasn't calling myself a CEO. I was, I was when speaking to these schools and having these meetings with teachers and everything.
You're
I
putting
was
on a girl voice,
everything
pretending to
was
be your own
we.
secretary.
No, everything like I was speaking to them and we were in meetings, like face to face meetings, and everything they asked me, I'm referring to. I'm saying we this and we that. I was the one man show at that time
You're
because I
the
was
only we.
small. I was just getting started. But you want to give the impression that you're an actual business, an actual company that's up and running.
Yeah,
So yes,
exactly. Fake
we
it till
do
you
this,
make it a
we do
little
that.
bit.
Yeah, we run we deliver a structured curriculum. All of our coaches are first aid trained
All of
and
our coaches,
are
all of our coaches being
yeah,
me.
being me, yeah. But but that's the thing, and all of our coaches are um, trained, certified, and experienced, and they have all the necessary qualifications, being able to deliver the structured curriculum. But they also, are qualified. They're trained in first aid. They have the necessary safeguarding requirements, etc. These are things I would include in the email. These are things we would speak about. So they understand that any representative of the academy have been DBS checked. There's like in England that's like that's a police clearance. So they're safe to work with children. They're trained, they're experienced, etc. So, like I said, at this point, I was just starting. It's just me. So, and I would mention that these sessions are conducted either by myself or one of my other coaches. Um, so I guess you could kind of say fake it till you make it, but it's giving that impression that we're an actual business to be taken seriously,
Yeah,
not just a
exactly.
one-man show. So while I was actually actively trying to approach schools and everything, most of the other, I think that was the only area where I actually reached out. I reached out to schools. Um, but what reached out to me was the club. The parents were reaching out to me, getting my emails, sending me emails, calling me. I got a really, really good friend that's in the U.S. Air Force, and actually by coincidence, by pure coincidence, and I'm saying that whether it's God or the universe, whatever you want to believe it, when COVID happened, when they just started easing the restrictions, obviously no one could play in sports or anything because most sports were contact sports.
Yeah, of
And
course.
my good friend, him and I, we grew up together. He's in the U.S. military. He's been here, based here for 6 months, for 6 years. And I would go see him every now and then, or whatever, every few weekends. And he was on the Air Force base in Cambridgeshire. And the guy that ran the sports club, he's the club coordinator. Him and my good friend were having a conversation. He said, "Look, we need to get some sports back up and running. But we can't do any sports like because most sports are contact sports and
Yeah.
according to
What's
requirements,
a
no one can do
sport that doesn't require us to touch other people? Oh, look.
table tennis. That's the thing. So then he's like, oh, so my friend said, oh well, how about table tennis? He's like, that's an excellent. Do you know anyone that coaches table tennis? And he's like,
Mm.
say no more. And there and then, in the middle of that conversation they were having, he just pulled out his mobile phone and he called me. He's like, right, I have a guy here that you need to meet, and he wants to meet you too. I was like, what are you talking about? And he said, and then he put him on the phone, and then we had a brief conversation, and then we exchanged details, and we had a Zoom call. And that call lasted about 15, 20 minutes. And he's like, listen, man, you're the guy. We need you on board. But, my guy spoke highly of you about the things that you've done. And and we just had a nice conversation. I did not even sell anything to him or try to convince him. He said, I've heard of you. Your reputation precedes you. I was like, well, thank you. But then he's like, right, this is exactly what we need. And I'm like, cool, no problem. And since then, we've started running like summer programs and everything for the Air Force. We did a great summer program. We put together a a summer training camp that same year. I think like a month or 2 months later, because around summertime, we put together a training camp for them, delivered it well. I did the whole week myself and one of my colleagues. Brought him in, and we ran the training camp the whole week. And at the end of it, we put together a nice package for them where we did a nice exhibition match. So I rang up two of my really good friends that were ranked in the top 10 in the UK, in England, to do a nice exhibition match. It was fantastic. So the kids loved it. All the military staff and everything came in. They loved it. I think the commander of the Air Force, he came in. He was super impressed. It was fantastic. We recorded the whole thing. Everything. I think the video is somewhere on YouTube. But it was a really, really, really good show. Everyone loved it. It was great. And obviously, table tennis is a non-contact sport, so it was ideal.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
yeah, so then and again going back to the structure that we've adopted, it worked well because the Air Force now needed to understand, okay, who are we paying? So I was like, right, this is the company name, company number and everything. Um, so we were fully registered as a limited company, So now we're an actual business because we've got clients and we've got an actual business account, we've got business profile, everything. And yeah, we just started moving forward from then, and
Yeah, and you actually
it started to
anticipated
grow.
that before.
Yeah, yeah. So it just started moving forward from then. More and more clients coming on board. We've added more days, so we were running clubs like 4 or 5 days a week. We were running school programs every day of the week, and then eventually, yeah, we just started hiring staff members. So that grew organically pretty much, and here we are.
And I want to emphasize that you were just you came from Guyana, you came to,
Hmm.
try to make your way as a table tennis player, and you obviously pivoted to getting more into coaching and then just making your
Hmm.
way from there. So I want to
Hmm.
emphasize it's not like you were born there and had all these resources, but you found out what you were good at, what you could leverage, and you moved from there. And
Hmm.
I want to know what exactly for people who, maybe it's not table tennis, it's any type of business, what idea that, somebody else who's in a similar situation coming to this new country, they also want more, they want to make more. That's why they came. That's why they left their country. They came
Yeah.
somewhere else to make more for themselves. What steps can they follow to also try to like
Hmm.
pursue this more, whatever their more is? How do they not buckle under the pressure of settling? Because I think that
Yeah.
as an immigrant, it
Uh,
kind of there is some amount of pressure to kind of be like, just get the job and just focus on the job and stay in that lane. So how exactly do you encourage people to kind of reach for their more?
Good question, actually. I think there's now that the answer to that is, I would say, wherever you choose, because the thing is, the world is very today. Okay, before that is there would be one answer to that, but now there's many different ways of looking at it. In the sense that it's a global economy we live in, so you now have access wherever you go, right? You could become a huge success right where you are in the country that you are in. You don't need to migrate to become a huge success because now we have the internet and it combines the world's resources. It brings everything into one central place, which is a click of a button, click of a mouse. Before, like years ago, 10, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, it actually required migrating to a degree to be in the same place of those opportunities. But what I would actually say to anyone is if you are to migrate to wherever you want to go, is the most important thing you can go with is not money, is not ambition, is not none of that stuff. You have to go with a plan. You have to have a plan as to what is it that you want to do, what outcomes do you want, because it's very easy to get distracted, to get the job, to get comfortable with the job, and to stay in comfort. The job could be a part of or a stepping stone towards your ultimate goal. But if you're not careful, you can stay on that same step. And as an example, I used to have a friend of mine that we've known each other since childhood, about 10, 11 years old. He left Guyana around the same time I left for England the first time. Like, but because I came to England years and years ago, played professionally, went back to Guyana, and then came back here permanently years after. But this this guy, he left Guyana a long time ago, but he went to a Caribbean island, Barbados. He is still there to this day. I have not known anyone that went to Barbados and is still in Barbados to this day. Everyone that left and went to Barbados is either back in Guyana or now in the US or Canada or somewhere else because it's a stepping stone. But he remained on that first step and he never catapulted. He never took the step to the next step. So my advice would be to come with a plan. What is it exactly that you want from being in a place like this or wherever you're going? Because your environment is so abundant. The scenery is could be beautiful, could be amazing. It's something from different from what you're used to. You have an abundance of resources. You have abundance of whether that's entertainment, whether that's luxury, whether that's lifestyle, whether that's whatever it is. It can be distracting. So you need to understand what is it that you want as an outcome, and you have to have a plan as to what is it that you want to achieve. So that would be the main thing I'd say to focus on because you don't want to be stuck. The time goes really quickly in places like this. It speeds up and you can easily just look back and 10 years is gone and you're still in the same place. So that would be the main thing I'd say to anyone wanting to sort of migrate and come out and um, sort of make something of themselves. I think an idea is good. Having an idea is good. Um, the question you need to ask yourself is, what is it that's, there's two questions, one of two questions. What am I good at? Or what can I do? And how can I monetize that? Or what is it that I can then take and monetize that's already out there, right? You don't have to have a special skill. You don't have to be the next greatest inventor. It'll be great if you are, but there are things that you can do in, like, that's why I said it's different from back then and now. These are so many things that are currently in existence with technology that you can just go into nearly any field. All you have to do is just be determined and just work at it, and just, yeah, just, and you could be very successful in whatever you choose to do. So thinking maybe something is, a field is saturated or the market is saturated, I think that's nonsense. If you can go and work harder than the next guy, you will be successful. You will have that success. Like I said, I didn't have a unique idea. I just looked at, okay, what are my current skill sets? And I just decided to do it differently, do it my way. And that worked for me. Now I have multiple businesses. I haven't done anything. I'm no, I'm not special as in like I was next Elon Musk or none of that. But I just had the idea that, okay, well, this is what I can do. This is what I'm good at. So I can offer this. I'm just gonna do it my way. And your way is what people buy into. Because I created my own thing and people bought into that. People are still buying into it. So you have to do it your way, add your twist to what's already out there.
That's pretty interesting. Okay, well, here's something that you didn't really talk about. And I mean,
Hmm.
as a business owner,
Hmm.
obviously at some point, I'm sure that you've had, career, I don't want to call them failures, stumbling blocks.
Hmm. Hmm.
What kind of advice could you give to someone who kind of like faces these stumbling blocks and is now questioning, if it's worth continuing?
I tell you what, that's a very interesting question. And this is how I'll answer that question. If you're someone that is put off or deterred by failure, then this may not be the thing for you. Being a business owner or being an entrepreneur may just may not be the thing for you. The reason why I say that is because being successful in business is all about failure. It's all about the lows, not about the wins, it's not about the highs. It's about the lows. It's about how much you can handle. It's about your stress tolerance. How much stress can you tolerate? You have to develop a high stress tolerance. If you're someone that's easily stressed, if someone that crumble under stress, that's fine. But if you're willing to change that or try your best to adapt to being in a more stressful environment and thriving under that environment as your default environment, if that's a change that you're willing to make, that will be the single most important change that you make in your life ever, because that will determine if you are successful at all in business. That's the thing. That's what I would tell anyone. And some people would say, oh, maybe you're built for this, maybe you're not built for this, or some people are just built for it. For I disagree. If you're not built for it, then build yourself for it. That's with anything in
Mm,
life. If you're not built for it, then build yourself for it. Human beings have the greatest power, the greatest ability ever is to adapt. Adaptability. You adapt to your environment, you adapt to different climate. Like, I migrated from a tropical climate. I'm out here. England weather is not the best.
freezing your
The
ass
UK
off.
weather, yeah, but I've adapted to it. To rain almost every day, to blistering cold, to just miserable weather. So you adapt to anything, any circumstance, any situation, any environment. Why not try and adapt to what it takes to be in an environment of business? And what that environment looks like is constant. non-stop stress. Everything will go wrong all of the time. That's a guarantee. So yes, there are going to be highs, but the highs are going to be very few. The lows are what's going to be your norm. And the sooner you acknowledge that and try and change your mindset to, okay, what I've signed up for is a life of stress, then it's the sooner you can enjoy the pain of it all. You can expect it. You won't be put off by it or surprised by it. You can actually enjoy the process. The real part of it, the actual side of it is it's exceptionally stressful. And the more successful you get, or the more the business grows, is the more responsibility you have. By extension, more stress. So the more responsibility you have is directly correlated to the amount of stress that you can handle. No one ever tells you that becoming a business owner or an entrepreneur, so to speak, they never tell you about the downsides. They always show you the upsides, the upsides where, oh, you, some people's like, oh, I want my own business because I was like, okay, why do you want your own business? I want to be my own boss. I want to work for myself. But some
Yeah,
people's
I want to
idea,
come and work in my underwear if I want. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. Most people's idea of being their own boss or working for themselves is a lawless environment where they get to do their own thing. No one gets to tell them what to do, but they get to operate the way they want, not in a positive way, but in a complacent way where, okay, I don't have to get to work at 9 o'clock, or I can leave whenever I want, or I can work whenever I want, right? They have a very idealistic perception of it. But I can tell anyone, when I started my own business, when I actually had a business, when I realized I have something, I'm onto something here. I can tell you from then till now, I've never worked harder in my life. I don't work 9 to 5. I work 24/7. I work all of the time. I've worked the hardest I've ever worked in my life because I work all of the time. There's always something to be done. And I'm not saying, oh, well, yes, I'm my own boss and everything. Yes, but being your own boss, if you want to be successful, if you want to have a successful business, then you have to be your toughest critic. You have to be harder on yourself than anyone else ever will be on you. So the people that work for me, they get to sign off at whatever time they finish working. I don't. I always have work to do. So many people have this idealistic view of it that, oh, I get to be my own boss. But that's the toughest thing. And it's not for everyone because if you go into it with that mindset, very quickly you realize that, oops, maybe this is not what I signed up for, you know? But that's the thing that I keep telling myself because when it gets tough, when I'm going through my lows and my what I call failures, I always remind myself that when you decided to start your own business, this is what you signed up for. And that makes it okay. For me, that makes it okay because it's not something happening to me. It's what's actually happening for me. So when you're going through the lows, that's when you need to remind yourself that, you know what? I'm grateful for this because this is exactly what I've asked for.
Is there anything else that you want the people to know in terms of following their dreams, starting from nothing, nowhere, starting with very little?
But that's usually how you start, isn't it? That's how you start. That's You just need to understand why you're doing it with whatever it is that you want to do, whether it's having a successful career, working for a big company, starting your own business, whatever it is. The most important template you can have is to establish and understand why you're doing what you're doing, because that's what you're gonna need. You're gonna have lows, you're gonna have highs, yeah, you're gonna have wins, but you're gonna have the majority of it is gonna be a lot of lows. There's a lot of things that you're gonna have to do and a lot of things you're gonna have to sacrifice. But the only thing that's gonna make sense, the constant that's gonna make sense is why you're doing what you're doing. So that's the main thing I would say to anyone before starting anything. Establish your why.
Establish your why, be motivated by your why. And on that note, I'm going to end here. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Junior, is there anything you want to Promote, plug. You don't promote the club, but or your company, but in case you want to, here's your platform for all three of my listeners.
Yeah, I mean, well, you can. I think I'm on Instagram. I'm on Instagram, so you can
I love how
follow.
you're not sure.
Yeah, the thing is, I hardly use it that much. I use it for marketing and so on for my other. But but yeah, you can follow me on Instagram. Hewley Griffith, so at Hewley Griffith, HEWLEYGRIFFITH. And yeah, any questions you may have, just shoot me a line, just drop me a message, and I'd be happy to connect. An extremely good idea for anyone starting out in business: get a mentor. I can never stop recommending it, having a mentor. I have a mentor, and I would advise anyone to get a mentor, get someone that's been there and done it that can guide you along that path. That's that's crucial to sort of save you from some of the pitfalls and mistakes you are inevitably going to make. They're going to help you a lot along the way. So, having a mentor has been one of the best decisions I've ever made. So I would advise anyone to get a mentor.
Well, see, now anybody who tuned out at the end of the episode who didn't listen to the end, they're gonna miss that piece of advice. I don't know. Maybe I'll be nice. Maybe I'll edit it and put it at the front, or maybe I'll leave it for all the people. Maybe I'm trying to make
Yeah,
sure
there's
everyone's
also
listening to
light
the
at the
end.
end
So
of the tunnel. So maybe that's the light that they should have sought to the end of the tunnel. So
exactly. See, next time, listen to the end of the episode. There you
actually,
go.
as a bonus, reach out to me and I'll put you in touch with a very, very, very good mentor.
There you go. See?
There you go.
And just replay this 15 seconds back and then you'll find his Instagram. So this is why. Listen to the end of the episode. But Junior, thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
Junior, thank you so much for all of your insight. Your story is nothing short of amazing, and I hope that the listeners agree. I hope anyone out there looking to start a business in your adopted country got the motivation they needed to go for it. I know I do when I talk to my cousin, and now I have a podcast. Thank you again, Junior, and to anyone out there for sticking around this long, thanks for listening.